This is the truth about our police force, and I am not holding back. Now, whenever you look on the news, you will see a police officer who's a retired ex superintendent who will stand there and who will tell you that, yes, there are problems in the police, yes, there are this, yes, there are that. And yet, funny enough, when they were actually in the force, they had the power to change things and to support the officers on the ground. And they did fuck all because they were more interested in their own careers and their own pensions and didn't give a shit about the cops on the ground, or they didn't give a shit about the people who we are supposed to serve, the public. The reason why people join the police is because they want to make a difference. They want to support members of the public. However, it seems to be that you climb so high up the ladder, you forget the reasons why you joined, and then you make unethical decisions and make the life harder for the cops on the ground, which then ultimately impacts the public. I can tell you right now, police turning woke, police becoming too authoritarian, it isn't the cops on the ground's fault, it's higher up. And in this video, we're going to get exactly into that. Why the senior leadership team is corrupt down to the core, why there needs to be systematic change in our police force, and how this is actually affecting the cops on the ground, and more importantly, how this is affecting your service and your safety. This video was sponsored by my best-selling police memoir, The Job's Fuck Secret Diary of a Police Officer. After 10 years in the police service, I finally left and I decided I need to speak out. This book does a deep dive into police corruption, the real reason why the police force is falling apart, and things you will never hear in the mainstream media. You can check it out in the link in the description of this video. You could also grab some merchandise and support me on Patreon. And now, without further ado, enjoy the video. But don't just take my word for it. Let's actually hear from a police officer who sent me something actually quite upsetting, which very much emulates a lot of the frustrations in the service. Last night was one of those shifts that makes me question what the hell we're even doing anymore. A sentiment a lot of officers certainly share. I was on a late shift between 2 p.m. and 10 p.m. just before handover, the time when everyone suddenly finds a reason why they can't possibly go out and do that last job. I got sent to an emergency domestic call. The female had rung up whispering down the phone asking for help. When we got there, she didn't want to let us in. At first, she was resistant, paranoid, and worried, but with some reassurance and persuasion, she opened the door. Straight away, you could see that she was upset, scared, and intoxicated, but not enough to mask her fear. We searched the house. She was on her own, but then we noticed something wasn't right. Eventually, we convinced her to show us her injuries. 2 massive lumps, serious bruising on her shoulder and leg, the kind of injuries that don't just fall over and get. The kind, instinctively are from violence. We tried to get her to open up. She wouldn't say much at first, but eventually, piece by piece, she told us that she feels trapped, that if she leaves, she'll get beaten, that she doesn't trust us because the last time the police attended, her abuser got told by officers that it was her who called. Imagine that. You find the courage to speak out and the system betrays you. No wonder she's terrified. She still denied being assaulted, but she couldn't explain her injuries. She was paranoid, constantly checking the window, shushing us whenever she thought she heard something outside. That's not paranoia, that's someone living in constant fear. And then, while I was on the phone to supervisors, he came back, just walked in like nothing was wrong. I arrested him on the spot, got him through custody, just. And you know what? I didn't clock off at 10. I stayed until 3:30 in the morning. My colleague and I were both producing afraid statements, clipping every second of body worn footage, sitting with her, trying to build trust, some kind of rapport, anything that might give her a little strength. She stayed withdrawn, scared, but at least she was talking just a little. I thought maybe, just maybe, this could be one of the ones we push through as victimless, where we take the weight off her shoulders and carry it for her, where we show her we've got her back. I came back in the next day at 2 p.m. and found it had all been NFA'd. No further action. That's it. Hours of work, a terrified victim, clear injuries, our instinct screaming the truth. It was all for nothing. And this is the part that eats away at me. I feel like I got it wrong, like I'd misread everything, like my instincts, my guts, my training, all of it counted for nothing. Because if I was right, then how the hell does a case like that just vanish into no further action? This is what breaks us. This is what makes officers so jaded and so bitter. We do everything, stay late, fight the fight, build the case, only for the system to shrug and walk away. We talk about victimless prosecutions like there's some sort of silver bullet, but let's be real, they are not. They almost never stand up. The CPS do not want to risk it. Courts do not want to back it. And the abuser walks free, probably smug, knowing he's untouchable. So where does that leave us? Where does that leave her? Back to square one, no justice, no protection, and probably even less trust in us the next time she calls. How have we gotten to this point? How has justice become so weak, so watered down, that even when the evidence is staring us in the face, we can't hold anyone to account? Is it lack of resources, risk aversion from CPS, a system more worried about conviction rates rather than protecting people? All I know is this: nights like that make me question everything, question why we fight so hard, sacrifice our time, our energy, and our health to protect people when the system isn't built to protect them. We didn't fail her, the system did, but it feels like I failed. it feels like I was so wrong. Now, just that message there absolutely emulates so much of the frustrations what police officers face. And because of senior leadership, because of the courts, because of the system, all to do with statistics and to do with, okay, we know something's happened, but yeah, we know that you've tried your absolute best and you've gone above and beyond. And fair play to those officers that did that. They gave a really, really good service. But they do that enough times. They do that enough times, and there's no kind of payoff as a result. There's no charge, there's no conviction for someone who's done something really fucking awful. Quite naturally, officers are going to go, well, you know what? I just don't want to do this anymore. And this is when we see officers getting discontented. And if you are in the emergency services and you want some free support, you can sign up to my 30-day free shift survival emails in the description of this video. But when it comes to the instance which officers face, we often find that the officers want to do a good job, and they do a good job, but it's the system weighted against the cops who are trying to do the right thing, because outside agencies such as the Crown Prosecution Service have their own quotas to hit, have their own statistics to hit. This is when we get all the evidence, and the cops do a really good job and they get all the evidence and they submit it to the Crown Prosecution Service, and for whatever reason, and it's happened to me more times than I would like to count, the system says no, and then the police get the blame. A lot of public perception, a lot of public vitriol is put on the police, believing it's the police that are the problem, when often it's actually the senior leadership in the police which don't decide to allocate resources to a certain side of crime, such as burglaries, etc., and the Crown Prosecution Service, who would rather protect their own statistics rather than actually take a chance and support somebody who fucking needs it. God, I'm pissed off to that. And the amount of messages I get from cops, like, it's insane, saying, thank you for highlighting these issues, because they don't have a voice. Because if you speak out against the organisation while you're in the organisation, you're likely to be sacked. If you enjoy these kind of conversations, then why not become a Patreon? You can support me for as little as $4.99 a month. As a Patreon, you'll get advanced access to videos, articles, behind the scenes footage, and more. For just the price of a coffee a month, you can help me bring these important conversations to the world. Just simply click the link in the description or scan this QR code right here. Another thing I learned is officer welfare and officer mental health is going down the absolute pan. There is a concern that around 10,000 officers a year are going to start leaving the force due to pay, due to welfare, due to management. And this will have a catastrophic effect on public safety, because if more officers go off with stress, burnout, PTSD because they don't feel supported by the organisation, that then means that less officers have to do more work, which means that more members of the public aren't getting the service which they need. And a huge part of that is the senior leadership team. Like I said at the start of the video, we join the cops, we join the emergency services to help people, but then what happens is people climb up so high up the ladder, they stop caring about the public and the people on the ground, and they care more about their own promotions. And what happens is they end up in this like in-group, this club where they all sit around the same table and they just lick each other's backsides. Oh, well, we've got this statistic through. Oh, well, I'm pushing for this statistic. Oh, I'm looking at improving this. Meanwhile, the cops on the ground are screaming, we don't have enough resources. We are not looked after. We are being burnt out. And then the senior leadership team basically stand there with their fingers in their ears, because the ones below them don't want to report what the police officers are saying to the officers at the top who can make the change, because they're worried about their careers. So if you have an inspector who's being told by the officers and the sergeants that we need more staff, we need less demand, this isn't working, cops are breaking, the inspector might go to their chief inspector and water it down slightly because they don't want to get a bollocking. And then the chief inspector will say, oh, well, this doesn't look good on me. Superintendent, everything's actually okay. We might just need a bit more things here. And then the superintendent will go, oh, I can't report this to my senior leadership team, so I'm going to tell them everything's fine. And then the people at the top who are in charge of making the service of the public the best it possibly can be don't get the memo, because the people below them are too scared to say anything for their own careers. It's completely wrong. And the people who get left out, like I said, are the cops on the ground and the members of the public. The cops on the ground do a fucking impossible job with the tools what they have. They are let down by the organisation who are there to support them and protect them. And this isn't just my own experience either, and this isn't me being hyperbolic. This is a crisis in the public services, in the emergency services, which is echoed by countless officers who message me every single week and tell me the same things. We are struggling. We are really struggling. And the government don't want to listen. And the senior leadership team don't want to listen because it makes them look bad. And as a result of the senior leadership team looking after number one, they will then bring in policies. They will want a certain increase on a certain statistic, such as arrests. They are put under so much pressure to make decisions which they don't agree with, such as locking people up for tweets, such as locking people up for a WhatsApp message, such as locking somebody up when they've had an argument with their partner and there's no sign of domestic violence, but the police have been called, so therefore someone has to come in and get locked up. It's all to benefit the people at the top, and the people who get all the shit, the people who appear on TikTok, who appear on social media, appear on the news, are the officers on the ground who are forced to make these decisions. Are the officers on the ground completely exonerated from any kind of responsibility? No, not necessarily. They still choose to put those handcuffs on. But after so long of having your morale beaten down and being told that if you don't do exactly as you're told, when you're told, and how you're told, then you're going to be in the shit. Therefore, you're going to get sacked. You can't pay your mortgage. You can't feed your kids. You can't provide for your family. After so long of pushing back, you'll either get moved to another department where you are taken off frontline and you're in some back office somewhere because you're considered a problem. And officers are even being given quotas to fill. You have to get 5 arrests a month. You have to get so many traffic stops, so much intelligence reports, so many stop searches. It's completely unethical, and this is not how the police service should be ran. A police service shouldn't be ran with key performance indicators. If anything, if we swap that round to what's public satisfaction like with the police, we'd find that they stop arresting people for easy detection, such as a social media post, when you've got all the evidence right there in front of you. It's all down to subjectivity. Was somebody offended? Yes. Well, the legislation itself is quite ambiguous. What is grossly offensive anyway? Oh, well, this person said it was grossly offensive. They don't need to prove it. They just need to say they found it grossly offensive and submit the evidence, which we've got right in front of us. Therefore, it's an easy arrest and an easy detection. Makes the force look better, brings down public confidence in the police, brings down the morale of the police. I think if there was a big shift away from KPIs like a business, we would see morale in officers massively increase. We'd see people being promoted for the right reasons. The way we promote senior leadership teams is absolutely backwards and just breeds fucking corruption. One thing I really did like what I saw was the Chief Constable of Hertfordshire Police, Andy Profit. He went out with his police officers on the ground and he actually locked somebody up, which I think is absolutely incredible. And I was thinking about this today. What a different police force we would have is if your superintendents, your inspectors, your chief constables still had to go out and do the police work. It would allow them to keep an eye on the ground and actually look at these serious issues and problems which cops on the grounds face. It's like they disappear behind this wall of senior leadership team and then vanish somewhere into a back office in the ivory tower, and then they just look at stats and spreadsheets which aren't reliable because of the reasons what you already said before. It means they actually don't have to tell the senior leadership team the reality of what's really going on. And the reality of what's going on is public confidence in the police has never been lower. Police morale has never been furthered through the floor. More cops are leaving, less cops are being recruited, and soon we won't even have a police force. So what have I actually learned since leaving the police? Policing needs an entire new overhaul. The wrong people are being promoted for the wrong reasons. Police officers are more unhappy than ever before. Police retention has never been as bad as it is now. The government take the police for granted and shit all over them and use them like a political football. Mental health and support in the organisation is poor at best. And ultimately, this just comes down to how well do the public feel that they're being looked after by their police force. However, that said, the police officers on the ground who are on the front line are absolutely amazing. They do their absolute best every single day with all the odds stacked against them. They do their absolute best. A lot of the officers aren't happy and a lot of the officers are leaving. Unless something serious happens very, very quickly, one day you're going to pick up that phone to call 999 and there's going to be no one there. If you enjoyed this video and you enjoyed this little rant, then why don't you check out this video here? YouTube says you'll quite like it.